And now for some tech updates. The U.S. Supreme Court has ruled in favor of a law which would ban the social media platform TikTok in the United States on grounds of national security unless its Chinese owner sells off its American operations to a non-Chinese buyer. As it stands, TikTok will be banned on Sunday, just a day before President-elect Donald Trump's inauguration. Washington claims that TikTok is a national security risk because it could be used by Beijing to spread propaganda and spy on Americans. Trump had pledged to keep the app available in the U.S., but if he does not, who exactly will be affected? Well, out of 1 billion monthly active users worldwide, 150 million are in the United States. Kenya leads in world TikTok usage. The country accounts for 54% of TikTok's usage for various purposes and 29% for news purposes. Other countries on the continent are also big TikTok enthusiasts. These include Egypt with almost 33 million users and Nigeria with nearly 28 million users. So what could the next couple of days look like if the move happens? Well, let's discuss that. I'm now joined in studio by Moses Kemibaro, a technology analyst, blogger and entrepreneur. Moses, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. So if the ban does go ahead on Sunday, what does it mean for the rest of the world from where you sit?
Well, the first thing is that I think between 150 million to 170 million users in the US will be cut off. That means audiences for TikTok content from the continent will be significantly reduced. In terms of commercialization opportunities, many small businesses and individuals are making money because of those audiences in the US and so forth. But more importantly, we do get a significant drop in the number of overall social media users in the US for the platform that currently has the most uptake.
And I can only imagine the Africans in the diaspora in the US and what that would mean if they're no longer able to access the platform. Here in Kenya, however, this country accounts for about 54% of TikTok's usage for various purposes. How do Kenyan users, for example, engage with US content and vice versa, or benefit from US audiences?
Well, a lot of the TikTok trends and challenges and so forth tend to originate from the US. So it does set the trend in terms of it cascades to the rest of the world from the US. A lot of ideas, concepts, and insights do come from TikTok. Many young people are using TikTok almost as a search engine. So imagine now that that content actually disappears and that opportunity to sort of consume and interact with that content in the process also goes away. But more importantly, we lose this massive audience of possibly very interesting and commercially interesting audiences out there in the US will no longer be accessible to our content creators and our businesses.
Let's talk a bit about monetization. African users and influencers have been struggling to monetize their content. Could the loss of such a big market like the US incentivize TikTok to open up monetization to, for example, African users?
Absolutely. I mean, TikTok as a business through ByteDance, which owns it, is going to lose a massive chunk of revenue by not being active in the US anymore. And of course, that means that they'll need to shore up those revenues by the other markets where they're available. As you know, India was also banned TikTok, I think, about almost 5 years ago. And this means basically they'll need to readjust and sort of reconfigure themselves to sort of cover that gap.
So there could be potentially a silver lining for other influencers elsewhere.
Absolutely.
But there are also concerns that some African leaders, and we've seen threats to TikTok in various countries, can be emboldened to follow the US example and issue demands to TikTok. Could we see that happening?
I think there's a very real possibility that could also happen. The people will be emboldened by the fact that the US has done it, India did it before. And in terms of sort of also some of the politically heated scenarios that we're seeing in countries, including Kenya, TikTok has been a major mobilizer of various, mass action activities. So generally, it could be the tinderbox that sort of spreads across the world.
Would you and this is a difficult one, how different would you say the earnings are for American TikTok users and African TikTok users? Do you have some sort of rough figure?
It's huge. The funny thing is on TikTok, we tend to see quite commonly, even in Kenya, people with 1 million, 2 million, 3 million followers, numbers that they don't have on a platform like Instagram. But from a commercial sense, we know 15-year-olds in the US who are making $100,000 a month creating content on TikTok. Yes. Now, if you look at the Kenyan comparative of that, they're making much, much less. But it's predicated on the fact that they are speaking to an American audience for brands that are commercializing through them. So I think that sort of gap is quite significant, and it's simply representative of the market where they're based.
If you were to use one word and very briefly to explain the disruptive force that TikTok has, what would you say has made it different? Because there are many social media platforms.
So historically, social media was predicated on something called the social graph, which was really about who you are connected to, your network, your friends, your family. TikTok changed all that by sort of popularizing the concept of the interest graph. So rather than showing you what your network is seeing, it was showing you what you like. So if you like watching videos about skincare or music, it would keep showing you that. And that is why TikTok is also quite addictive. Because it keeps showing you and reinforcing through the algorithm what you like to see.
Fascinating topic. We're just going to